When did I know I had credit? About 2021. When did I know that I had to look at my credit and learn about it? Unfortunately, after that moment, because nobody was there to teach me, and I found the best way to ruin it, apparently.
Because at that point, I was selling real estate, right? So,
Right.
I was watching seller concessions come in. You're looking at new home markets, and you're watching just things plummet. You're watching people's financial futures just literally drop. And then, take what happened 2020, 2021, where you had these bidding wars all over the place. And I lost a friendship. Listen, the true story. You're stupid. I told you I'll never lie to you, man. I don't lie. I think you know this from, our interactions over time. I said, but it's a stupid move, man. And he goes, well, you're not being supportive. And I went, no, you're right, because I don't support a stupid move.
More than money, it's about empowerment. Welcome to MSI Wealth Chronicles. Today I got a treat for you. We actually have one of my friends, Anthony, with us today, and he's from Smart Credit. Now, we've been talking a whole lot about you got to build wealth, you got to get empowered, you got to understand. But the issue has been, where do you start, right? This is what we're going to be talking about today. So, Anthony, tell everybody a little bit about you, man.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I'm Anthony Williams. I'm here with Smart Credit and Consumer Direct. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
So, starting out, the first question is that everybody's seen a million different companies online that do monitoring. What separates Smart Credit from everything else out there?
Yeah, it's a good question, because the problem is, like you said, every time you turn around, right, there's a new place that pops up that says, hey, we do this, or we protect this, or we give you this. And the truth is credit monitoring is credit monitoring, which is done through the bureau.
Yeah.
Right. So if you check with your bureau, one of the three major bureaus, and you say, hey, I applied for a loan or something, right, and they really ran your credit hardwise, then it's going to show up on your credit report. Right. That's going to show. That's a knock. If, someone was just doing like a pre-qual, right? That's what they call like a soft, inquiry. That's not going to show up necessarily on your credit report. But credit monitoring, in the simplest terms possible, is what hits your credit report based upon your Social Security number. Right.
And you were just talking about inquiries, right? And a lot of people will get them mixed up, like what's a hard inquiry, what's a soft inquiry. Soft inquiry, they really are just checking, right?
Yeah, it's just like you can always look at it this way, right? You make a sandwich, right? And it's the top piece bread, right?
Okay.
Would be like your soft inquiry. Now, when you do a hard inquiry, that's the whole entire sandwich. That's what you're paying for, right? You just want to taste test, or do you want to actually purchase what it is? It's the only way I think I can explain it in that sense. But a soft inquiry is you walk into an auto dealership, and you have to really check when you walk into places, because places will automatically run a hard inquiry on your credit without you knowing.
Wow.
So it is very important that when you do walk into an establishment, whether you're going to purchase furniture, whether you're going to purchase a car, whether you're going to look at a home, a loan, whatever the case is, you literally need to specify whether it's a soft inquiry or a hard inquiry.
That's talking about something right there that a lot of people don't know, because they go in and, I've known couples that, I actually personally know a couple that they were about to buy a house, and they went and drove vehicles for the weekend. Just drove them. They didn't even buy a car.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they go pull the last credit report just before closing.
Yeah.
And it went from a $0 down payment to $20,000 down payment, and increased an entire point.
So the way that actually works, there's a couple of different things. One is I want to give you probably one of the biggest secrets out there. If you ever receive one of those things in the mail that says like pre-qual,
right,
that means nothing. It's a guesstimate.
Okay.
So I had worked with Rocket Auto a while back, a long time ago, and that's where I had actually learned that. Because in those dealer systems where they actually run people's credit and everything else, most of the time, anything with auto, they're not technically running your credit. When you get those things in your mail, that they have not run your credit. It's a marketing tool.
Sure.
That's a pre-qual. A pre-qual is equal to 0. The only way that you actually understand what you're qualified for, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a loan, whether it's a car loan, whatever the case is literally running the hard inquiry. And that doesn't get done because they need your permission. Okay. So in common sense, if I need your permission to use your Social Security to run a hard inquiry on your credit report, how could that pre-qual actually be anything?
Couldn't be.
No, but people, people don't look at it that way. And the reason why I'm saying that is so that when people listen to this, they'll say, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
A pre-qual is exactly what it is. It's a pre-qualification. In a lot of industries, pre-qual is not actually allowed to be used in the conversation because it's misleading.
Wow. Okay. So you say that everybody's got the same data. So if I go to any one of the providers that are sitting out a credit report of any kind, right?
No, the bureaus. It's based on the bureaus.
Okay.
So each bureau will use different calculations or different ways of determining the levels in which they classify your credit.
Oh, I mistook what I was saying. I meant to credit monitoring places.
Yeah.
They're all getting the same data from the 3 bureaus, correct?
Yeah.
So what are some things that are unique to your to Smart Credit?
The features. I mean, well, more.
If you had to pick one, what would be your favorite?
More than the features. The insurance, which I say this kind of tongue in cheek, right?
Right.
The $1 million insurance, everybody's going to offer you $1 million insurance. The truth is in the fine details. The details of ours specifically is $1 million insurance, but it's also including the people inside your home.
Okay.
Which is huge. And that plays onto the part of one of the features that I love the most, which is MyLona and also Privacy Master. Mm-hmm. So MyLona is huge because MyLona is an offer wall for people who, if they're on the Smart Credit platform, MyLona offers them the ability to get a loan. In 2023, and these are not exact numbers, but very close to it, we saved on average the consumers that use our platform $2.2 billion. And the average, so that was between auto and home.
Okay.
Only between $2.2 billion. Along with that, the average on a mortgage, a 30-year fixed mortgage, was $75,000 of interest.
Wow.
And I don't know exactly off the top of my head what the auto one was, but it's thousands of dollars.
So you're saying that's MyLona, right?
Yeah, MyLona is...
What does it do?
So MyLona is an offer wall, right?
Okay.
And what you can do is if you're in Smart Credit, so on the basis of credit, they come to MSI and we need help with our credit. Jesse, can you help us? Yes. Jesse's
absolutely, without a doubt.
I can help you, right? You're going to go talk to this and they're going to walk you through this process and we're going to set you up on the Smart Credit platform, right? And when they get set up on the Smart Credit platform, they're going to have all these different options. So what is MyLona? MyLona is, man, I really need to consolidate some debt because that's going to allow me to focus on one payment instead of 15 payments. Or potentially I want to refinance an auto loan. Or, at some point, maybe I do want to look at maybe mortgages or whatever else, right? That option is now there. Personal loans, all day long, we can do on MyLona.
Oh, wow.
So, if somebody has an immediate death in the family or, severe tragic incident, they need cash now. Instead of them having to go through the 14 other, potential places, your SoFis, your Best Eggs, your things like that.
Right.
Actually, all of it is consolidated into the MyLona program.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So based on your credit score, location, and your Social Security, they will provide you a loan directly through MyLona.
Now, is there something in Smart Credit that kind of triggers that, or is that just a blanket group of people that you'll use?
No, but I mean, when you go into Smart Credit, it's your standard. If you've ever seen, obviously you've seen the interface, but for those that play with it, I encourage you to kind of look at it. But you'll go through, and the top part is essentially like for your business and you, right? Where you love that top part because that's going to reinforce what you're telling people. That's going to give them the credit education, the credit awareness. It's going to have the score master side of it where you're able to see, okay, if I make these adjustments here and which card is the best or which debt is the best to make a payment to. And if I spend another 500, so I go left on this, oh man, like my score went down 6 points, right? But then if I go, up, and I go this way and I paid $1,000, right? Maybe tax season was really good. So I put $1,000 down. Ooh, I just got 12 points. But there's a difference there. What Smart Credit does very different than others is that we actually move the debt that you have around to show you which one would be best to pay off first because you're going to get the biggest increase.
So, one of the things that we're really trying to push here at MSI and with MSI Wealth Chronicles is the empowerment of people. And a lot of people don't have the education that, say, myself or you or, one of our consultants has. So this is kind of a way for them to start getting their hands into that and be able to start learning some of that. So it is literally a tool to be able to, not only do you get your credit report, but you get a tool that lets you start already affecting your own life.
Yeah, I mean, you and I really didn't have the knowledge of it either, right? Because it's not like something they teach you at school. So they don't teach you from school, right? And I know that you do a lot of talks and speeches and networking around universities and really trying to bring credit education and wellness together, right? Which is also why you provide, this podcast. So with that being said, I encourage people to dig into it. What I really suggest is people go look at the FCRA, right, and read through that type of stuff. Read through the horror stories of people, what's happened. I mean, you look at whether it's inner cities or other places around the world, how many kids had their credit affected by their parents.
Right.
Right. So you grow up,
a big thing.
You don't know your credit's messed up. You don't even know you don't even know. At what point did you know you had credit? Or what it did, right? You know what I mean? Like, let's be realistic.
There's two different conversations there. When did I know I had credit? About 2021. When did I know that I had to look at my credit and learn about it? Unfortunately, after that moment, because nobody was there to teach me, and I found the best way to ruin it, apparently. I mean, I did that all on my own. I just trashed that whole thing without even trying. So you're right. You're talking about people, messing up your credit.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you, but I'm from New Orleans. I'm from St. Bernard Parish.
Yeah.
I'm from the lower Ninth Ward. If you know anything about that, we're talking about a poor neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it was a common thing to have parents put things under their kids' names when the kid's a toddler. I mean, legitimately, they just got issued, and I don't know how they got away with it, but they did, so I have friends that I grew up with that have had to face what you're talking about, which is going in and looking and finding out, what do you mean? What do you mean I owe a debt from,
Remember, the restrictions were very loose. So, just providing a social security number, with that info. I mean, look at what caused 2008. You want to talk credit. Right? You're talking about a complete collapse. Why? Because of that. Things like that. It was so loose. You could just flip money this way. You could go get a loan here, default on this here, and do this here, right? And
those loans, they said, take a deep enough breath and you have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, don't even get me started with the seller concessions, everything. Because at that point, I was selling real estate, right? So, I was watching seller concessions come in. You're looking at new home markets, and you're watching just things plummet. You're watching people's financial futures just literally drop. And then, take what happened 2020, 2021, where you had these bidding wars all over the place. And I lost a friendship. Listen, no, true story. I lost a friendship. A friend of mine was going to purchase a home. And he calls me up one night, and he says, "Hey, man, I found it. We found it. We're going to get out of this area." It was probably like 20 minutes closer to like where I was from where he had originally purchased a home. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna get this house." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, what are they hitting you with these overpriced bids, right? Because at that time it was just going nuts, right? $50,000. And I was a bad friend, I guess, right? But I was like, "You're stupid." I said, "I told you I'll never lie to you, man. I don't lie." I think you know this from our interactions over time. I said, "But it's a stupid move, man." And he goes, "Well, you're not being supportive." And I went, "No, you're right, because I don't support a stupid move." And after that, I lost a friend. I lost a friend because he paid $50,000 over for that house, and then what's happened over these last couple of years?
Oh, well, we're going into lawsuits all over the nation right about it now.
But you're also going to start seeing a change where, there's a lot of things that have to take place, but he's going to essentially not have the equity he anticipated he was going to have.
Sure.
Which is what I told him. You could do it then, but then you lose some. You were better off waiting a couple of years,
Right.
And go do what you, I get it. I get it. I get the emotional attachments that happen with homes, and he got married, and I get it, right? So whatever the case was, whatever. I lost a friend, but if I lose a friend over that, it ain't much of a friend. So I'm not losing sleep over it. But stuff like that, I think, where people are led the wrong way because people don't tell them the truth. Remember, you deal with a lot of marketers. You don't deal with a lot of true salespeople. And what I mean by true salespeople is they're not afraid to tell you what you don't want to hear,
right,
to make sure you understand what you're hearing. Right? Marketers tell you, and no offense to the marketers out there because I've been a marketer, but my whole entire job as a marketer is to make you like it. I'm not lying to you.
No.
But I could be dressing up something a little bit, right? So
I was once told sales is telling the truth in the most attractive manner.
Correct.
So if somebody's selling you something, you realize they're going to paint the prettiest picture that's out there. And if somebody actually goes, that picture may not be as pretty as you think it is from every angle, maybe it's time to look at another angle, huh?
Hey, I wasn't the one buying a house. So I'm not going to deal with what he's got to deal with, right? But I told him the truth. And, when it comes down to it, I think, if you tie that back into the credit discussion or just credit education is, let's face it, man, kids don't understand what it means when they go get a loan for their schooling, right? And then you have to pay back all these debts, right? I mean, how many kids could go get a decent job, but they physically can't leave their parents' home because they can't afford it?
Right.
They got student loans. They didn't realize what they were purchasing from those student loans. They didn't realize, what's entailed to it. I'm going to go buy this car. Do you know now, like the average car payment is still around it's like $700-800, right? I guess. Well,
yeah.
And so I would see people and hear people. They're like, I'm like, what do you pay for this car? It's like, oh, like $1,100. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like throwing up my own mouth. I'm like choking, right? I'm literally choking, right? Because how are you going to go spend $1,100 on a dang car? Right? Like why?
On something that's going to literally go away at some point.
It's a depreciating asset. The second you sit your butt in the car, you lost money.
The last time I looked at statistics on that, when you sign a piece of paper, you take the keys,
20% plus.
You drive off the lot. It's $5,000 to $7,000 you just lost.
Yeah.
Hitting the bump, leaving the parking lot.
It's like 20 to 23% when you turn the key.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's literally a depreciating asset in that sense. So like when people say that, I'm like, that's half of my rent. You know what I mean? Like, is your car payment, man? So then when you realize, like, why can't you get out of mom's house? Well, you got $1,100 car payment. I don't know what school you went to, right? But I know what my school repayment is and going to be, right? So
right.
If that's like $500-600, unless you go on some sort of plan, you're now at almost $2,000 a month, and you ain't even talking about food.
What's funny though is that student loans were have been a boom bane thing. The people who are buying houses that are in the millennials right now, almost 60% of them wouldn't qualify for a house without the student loans they have because
Correct.
They don't have any other credit history.
Oh, that you're touching on right there is the reason why I say like I'm not saying they come out uneducated because
right.
you can't. You only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
So when kids come out. There's people who want to point the fingers at them, they're dumb and, they don't understand. And no, when a baby's born, does the baby know how to cook for itself? Does it know how to walk? Right? Does it know how to speak? You teach the kid. Okay? We don't teach our kids.
Well, and I agree with you. The biggest issue with the way we've done credit in the United States is comes down to a simple fact. The youngest of the credit bureaus is 1995 when they were founded. Yeah. That means 1995 forward, everything changed.
Yeah.
And so the older generation, which at the time really was boomers, because let's face it, that's when Gen X was coming out of high school. And and now Gen X doesn't know, and millennials, their parents are also boomers. Nobody knew, and nobody took the time.
It was a different mindset too, right? Like,
sure,
you didn't just go immediately to credit. You earned the money,
right?
And credit was used to fulfill the gap of what you couldn't make within a certain time.
Yeah.
Now it's credit first, I'll pay it later, is kind of that thought, right?
True.
Where people, well, just give me a credit card. I'll buy this now. What's the bill? $300? I'll pay it. Right? Like they don't think about it. But the mentality was different because everything's so fast-paced. Like you could thank social media, thank all the online stuff, right? Everything's at your fingertips. Buy it now, do this, do that. So it's the FOMO, right? That comes in. When you also talk about that too, was remember, like economics were very different. Dad could work one job, mom and kids could be home, right?
Right.
Now you got two parents working, and the TV is teaching the kids, right? So, or an influence. Also, I don't care if you grew up ghetto or not. Like, I grew up suburb, grew up rough, man. My father was a truck driver. Like, we didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
We were scraping, man. I had to go get hockey scholarships to go to the schools that I went to. Like, I had to work, right? When I look at that, it was just not the way it is now. You didn't have that perception. You didn't think of things the same way. Kids are coming out now, and it's an entitlement. I should get this.
Ooh.
We worked towards it because we had somebody there. You had an influence in your life of some sort, right? It could be your guidance counselor. They don't even do that the same way now. So where's this kid going to ask questions? If mom and dad aren't there, aren't available,
right?
Who influences the child? Some stranger on a YouTube?
I have to admit, we've kind of gotten a little off a track there a little bit. But no, I know where you're at with that. But there is a mindset difference between what it was and what it is now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I see a lot of people doing, and something we've never really talked about on this, is encouraging people with a service like yours is to keep up with your credit on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Right? And the question I have for you is, what does Smart Credit do to help them keep up with what's going on?
I think one of the amazing features is the best pay down date.
Okay.
Right? That's one that I think is really huge because I don't think people understand paying something early offers you the credibility.
Right.
And that is something that Smart Credit puts a huge emphasis on, which is where I, even on my own account, I just get an email. Tells me, hey, your best pay down date's coming. I know the bill's due like the 13th.
Right.
But if I pay it by the 5th, I'm in good shape, right?
Now, what is the difference between like a best pay down date? And now I know that every credit card, every loan, whatever you have, is going to have a date that they report to the bureaus. Is that match the best pay down date?
Without saying definitively, yes, because remember, like if they report to the bureaus on the 5th, but your bill's the 13th, it's not going to get reported until the 5th of the next month, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think I would have to assume that along with that, because once again, there is some gray area there of what they want to say and what they don't. But the best pay down dates definitely have to coincide with when they're actually making the reports.
Okay, so they should, for the most part, if you follow that, it's going to help out quite a bit.
The nice part is it's sent to you way before like your pay down date, so it's not like tomorrow. Hey, tomorrow's your pay down date, right? Like,
right. No,
you're notified, and that's actually, the other cool thing when you ask about the features, and we were talking about MyLona briefly before I went off on a tangent. Your MyLona is a wonderful tool. Underneath that, though, there's a couple other tools which you have which is Money Manager and Privacy Master. Now, if they attach their accounts to Money Manager, it literally is a financial tool. So it's showing you your assets, the depreciations is showing you when those pay down dates. Plus, it's going to give you, when you put that card in there, the direct correlation between the bureau. So you're going to get an alert if something was to take place as well.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of like having a guard dog watching.
Oh, yeah. It's a financial tool. Now, the other thing that I had mentioned was Privacy Master, which is essentially privacy as a service, which is a hot topic, right?
Yeah.
And that's the ability for the consumer to remove their personal information from data brokers.
Now, I've heard a few people talking about this recently, and they're like, I can remove it from here, or I can remove it from here, and there's usually just a couple of them that are involved with that. They name out like 2 or 3 different places. I have 2 questions for you. One of them is, how many different sites do you really remove
Over
that
43.
from? 43.
Over 43.
Okay.
And we have the ability to customize if, say we're working with you or we're working with another partner and they said, hey, this broker, they're the major brokers. We look at like the high traffic brokers. And we also look at like the mediums as well. But maybe there is a small one that's specific to attorneys.
Yeah.
Or that realm, right? We could validate it. We could work on validating it and adding it into the scan itself so that if your customers are in that, pen, so to speak, we'll keep it clean.
Now, what's the benefit of having your information just removed from the internet like that?
People sell your info, man. So I always use this, right, for people to easily understand it. So you go on your phone. Data broker pulls the information. Everyone shares that info. They sell that information, right?
Yep.
Data broker takes your info and they're going to sell that info. You removing it removes it from that list in which they have it. So there is proprietary technology. There's patented technology that goes along with it. What's the major difference that we do? I think that's the biggest thing that would help people in that sense because it's very different from what's out there. One is if I, Anthony, go into Smart Credit and I click the button to have my information removed, that is me requesting the information to be removed.
Okay.
That is not me asking Consumer Direct or Smart Credit to please remove my information. It's a very big difference. That's a difference of power of attorney there, right?
Right.
Secondary. If, when going in there, you have a couple different options. One is you have the option of not my data. So if it has nothing to do with you, it's Anthony Franklin Williams, 72 years old. Well, obviously I'm not 72 years old. My middle name's not Franklin, right? And they're talking about Iowa, Des Moines, and then, Costa Rica or whatever else. Guess what? That's not me. But it's the likeness of my name potentially, right? So I'm going to click that and say it's not me. So I'm going to remove that away as well. But ultimately, when I remove it, here's the other biggest thing. Anthony Williams is a very common name. Same thing as Steve Smith.
Right.
Okay? What is the difference of what we do? We do not bulk remove. So what companies were doing, right, is there would be 8 Anthony Williamses. And so when somebody would hit that button, it would remove all 8 Anthony Williamses, which is illegal.
Oh, okay.
Because that data broker you need verification to remove and authentication to remove that person's information.
So they remove it and put it right back on the next couple days later.
But you're removing it, which is causing a problem. So if I remove mine, you still have the other 7 Anthony Williamses, but they're not me.
And they may want it on there.
I'm removing mine. I'm not worried about everybody else. Now, what's the benefit to it ultimately?
That was the question I was about to ask.
Pre and post mitigation.
Okay.
So Smart Credit or Consumer Direct is not going to go in there and fix your laptop when you get a virus. They're not going to go do that, right? What we do is we help with the pre and post mitigation aspects, which is one, you're removing your information, and then you're also keeping it clean. So every time that anything may pop back up because maybe you revisited that site, or look, you got kids. Kids go on your phone. Do you know where they go?
Everywhere.
Right? I mean, so maybe they went to a site that you were already on or not, or whatever the case is, and your information pops back up again. So what happens is the ability to actually have that and remove it on the front and the back end is huge. Huge. That keeps your information clean. You don't want that lingering out there. The longer it lingers out there, the longer you have the ability for an account takeover or your information to be shopped somewhere.
So really what you're doing is helping people keep from having their identity stolen for all intents and purposes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, where is this huge? Mortgage, real estate.
Why there? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, how many times do you hear of what's it called? When somebody puts a deposit down and they're going to closing. What's
Title.
No.
Title.
Oh, it's terrible for a podcast to have to not be able to remember. Escrow.
Right.
So you know how there's tons of fraud being caused in escrow and everything else, and that was kind of like a big thing for a little while and everything else.
Right.
Well, if you're cleaning up all your information, it's kind of hard to get fraud, right?
Fair enough. All right. Now, when let's say I signed up with Smart Credit, which I actually have. That's not a lie. I actually have a Smart Credit account.
He's got the biggest plan possible. No, I'm sure.
And he just said I'm a sucker. Look at that. No. Seriously though, when I signed up for it, do y'all do credit repair? Can I dispute from there?
Nope.
Can I nothing like that?
No, we are a technology-focused company that provides the platform to credit repair companies or agencies. So we are not credit repair. We don't even use the word dispute. You do not make disputes on our platform. The difference with our platform is, yes, we do have the ability for people to go in there and claim, right, where they can talk directly with the financial institution in which holds that account, but we do not directly dispute with the bureaus. No, that's your job.
And that is what we do. We help remove items through dispute process. We help remove items through going and doing legal audits on them with either the creditor or the collection agencies, disputes with the bureaus and things like that.
Yeah.
To help remove those things that aren't supposed to be on there. We actually tell our clients when you're in credit repair, and I'm going to tell everybody whether they are with credit repair with me or the next best company or the worst company in the world, especially with the worst one in the world if you're trying that route, have a credit monitoring service through the whole process.
Absolutely.
Because you need to inspect what you expect.
I think, it's had such a crazy cloud over it, right, in credit repair.
Yes.
And I think that's where what you had was there's always bad apples and everything that happens. But I think once you kind of sit with a company that's reputable and gives you the proper care that you need, I think that's the biggest piece that you're looking for, right?
It hates me.
Tech problems.
It wants a passcode.
So with all that being said, yeah, I don't. It's 2000s. She's going to edit this out.
Totally screwed that up. I'm so sorry.
Dang, you were doing such a good run.
I know.
She almost felt like she had to not do anything the entire time. Anyway, you're good. It'll be slow. Go ahead, repeat your question. We'll give it to her so she can start from that.
Absolutely. So,
what's the difference, right, between bad and good credit companies or whatever?
Right. No, when you're if you're using a credit repair company, I've always had the opinion that you have a monitoring company to inspect what you expect. What makes it a good monitoring company versus a bad monitoring company?
And just to be clear, you're talking like Smart Credit or another company that provides those reports.
Sure. What makes yours the right choice for that?
Number one, our customer service, bar none, because our partners are extremely important to us, right? So partnering with those credit repair companies and being able to supply them with the tools that they need, being able to service those customers, being able to help them, making sure they have those reports, making sure that the monitoring is working, because how can you fix your credit or your report if you don't monitor it or understand what's wrong, right? So first and foremost, what makes Smart Credit best? Our people, our company, our technology, hands down. The reports are the reports, right?
Sure, everybody's getting the same information from the same three bureaus.
The reports are the reports, but how those reports are delivered, how the interaction between us and our partners works, makes that a seamless and enjoyable experience for the customers in which you serve. So, at the end of the day, people will look at it as if like it's top down, but reality of it is we value our partners much more than people would understand, because you guys are on the front lines. So anybody who's actually working with the consumers, we can sell monitoring systems to, the normal public.
Right.
Right. But reality of it is we work with the individuals because you're on the front lines working with them. So our entire job is to supply you with what you need.
It gives us the ability when we're talking to somebody that we've now made a relationship with.
Yeah.
Because when a client comes in here, this is not an overnight process. They come in there, they join us. They're going to be here for 6 months minimum. Could be 8 to 10 months.
Yeah.
And I've had clients that have come in. They started in the 4s, the 5s, the 6s. They leave us in the 7s or 8s. Here's my question for you in smart credit is there a time that they shouldn't have a service like yours?
No. No, I don't. And I'm not saying that because of smart credit, but after having, and I've had multiple credit services. So I was initially a few years ago introduced to it in a very weird way, which was I got this notice that like an insurance company or something was, got infiltrated. The information got hacked or whatever else, right? So I get this thing, hey, you have free service. I
got that same thing.
Yeah,
I was in that.
So I went and checked it out, and
I actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I went and checked it out, and then I'll tell you now, after I checked it out, I was like, I don't like this. Right? Like
scary.
Well, yeah, but me, coming from a game design field, right? I was like, I don't like this interface. Like I feel like it's like I don't feel educated enough to kind of use this. Like, I don't know if I'm giving myself the right info, right? Like, is how I felt, right? I'm like, this is really odd.
I have information now. What do I do with it?
Yeah, I had no idea, right? It's like, oh, well, look here, right?
I'm confused. It's numbers. I mean, that happens.
And then, through other jobs that I had worked and consulting opportunities that I was doing, and then at one point, I remember I was actually held a credit report in my hand. And I'm like, oh, this is what it is, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, where do I look? Like this.
Have you ever had one from each bureau? I've tried that before too.
No.
And you got to figure out this account goes with that account.
No, that's like
Connect. That one over
that's
there.
Connect 4, and then you need Yarn
Connect
and Tax,
3,
right? Yeah, yeah, Connect 3 technically. So I had this, and I'm like, oh, right. And then after coming with Smart Credit. And working with them, and then seeing the tech side of it, and then how it's presented, and the information, right? It's really slick, like how the information's taken and then compartmentalized into this, and now you're looking at this on this computer screen, and then I was blown away when I looked into the Smart Credit platform, because I'm like, it's very neatly put together.
Oh, this is me, right?
Yeah, I'm not confused, right? Oh, I have a question. Wait, you answer it? Oh. Right? And then, if anybody who's ever been on our platform, we actually have an education section.
Now that's something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
Because this, again, we're back to MSI Wealth Chronicles here. What all do y'all help teach on there? Because we're doing a lot of that type of work. What else do y'all do?
A lot of it is reinforcing what you are telling people.
Right.
Because you're doing the right thing, right? We're not giving something that they're not, right? That they don't need to do. That wealth thing is just really drilling into people's heads, what it really is. So people think, oh, okay, I didn't buy anything on this credit card for 30 days. So I need to buy something, right? And it's like, no, or I'm going to pay everything off right now.
And that's not always the best choice either.
That's my point. So being able to look through these, but what I do encourage is to reach out to you or MSI or a company like yours, because those are the experts. We're the experts with the technology and how to get it and give you what you need. But when we're talking someone's really got to dig deep and help somebody out, I'd rather trust the individual that's on the other end of that phone or in person, that I know that you're representing me to my best of abilities to the bureaus.
Right.
I don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? So as just a normal person who's never been in this, what's a bureau? What do I say? Right?
That is a hard question. A lot of people don't realize, because once they got in there, well, that's not right, and you send them a message, that's not right, and they get a message back. My favorite message that people get back when they try to dispute on their own.
Yeah.
According to our records, this is correct. And most everybody else dies right there at that statement. And that's not a legal response. Did you know that?
No, I didn't
That's
know that.
not even legal to an actual dispute, right? You have to give some sort of proof by saying, according to our records, that's correct. It's correct. And then walking away. And they're expecting you as the person just to give up. I mean, that's,
There's
you're
an
right.
entire division in the bureaus that is there to check the validity of what's being sent into them. And I'm not going to say they're intentionally going to, try to kick out what you're sending back to them.
Right.
Just keep in mind, there's an entire division trained to see whether or not that passes, quote unquote, their sniff test.
Boy, I'd love to sit down with a group of those guys. Being honest about it. Love to sit down.
I'll tell you this.
That would be more of an interrogation than it would be a questioning.
Here's the cool part. At Smart Credit, there is a lot of people who did work at the bureaus that.
Now, that is something I wanted to bring up. When I came out to one of y'all's conferences and I had a great time and met a lot of people. I couldn't tell you how many people from the bureaus actually worked there. It's got to be a big number when it takes a moment.
I think it's around it's not that huge. I mean, I think it's around 14, which is, a lot, compared, right?
Right.
But it could be a little bit more, but I'm talking there are people from our company that, were in good places, that know their stuff. I'm talking, from the business standpoint, from the bureau standpoint, how to even read those contracts and agreements, how to set those up, how that looks. I don't think people really understand that when, a product rolls out, what really entails, to get that agreement done with the bureau.
With that kind of experience, you almost have a really great connection with what's going to be going on and when things changes. How do you get the information about what's changing in the credit regulations, what's changing in credit rules? Do you get that to the clients? Let's say they come to me, we help them get their credit back online, and they stay with you because we encourage people to stay, to have something like this. But if they stay with you, how would they get an update? Do you send that type of stuff to them?
We send updates all the time. Yeah, we do it to people all the time. We give people as many updates as we possibly can, major changes and things like that. But most of the time, if you are looking through FCRA, the funny thing about credit in general is the FCRA is huge, right? But you have to look at economic factors because certain economic factors will give you essentially a projection into what may take place.
Right.
High inflation or, unemployment and just things like that, right? Economic factors definitely play a role into then where people are going to go. And I think when you start to see, home prices that go down, like we were stating earlier, it might be a good time for you to work on credit if you're looking to purchase.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? So, not only is it what you're providing, but it's really the education the public gets and maintains. It's always easier to maintain something than it is to start over, right? So,
oh yeah, without a doubt.
If people can kind of get in that process, and truth be told, I don't sit there and just stare at my credit report every other day. I don't. I go in once a month, right? I go in maybe once a week for different things. Privacy Master, I go in probably twice a month. And the reason is because every 14 days we recycle and do another scan.
Wow. Okay.
Which is huge, right? And so we're looking at minimizing that. I have no, dates or if that's for sure going to, without a doubt, take place. But a conversation was to get that down from 14 to 7. So
I have to ask you, with your Privacy Master, you go in there, you want to even scan it, not just 14 days, but 7 days. Is my information getting out there that fast?
The second you go somewhere, your information gets out there. So if you remove that information,
right,
and we actually are able to remove it from some very difficult sites that others can't. So I can't really, reveal that. But yeah, man, if you do it today and you go out in 2 days and you go visit that stuff again, they're going to pick your stuff back up again.
So just like credit, your credit is not just a day, it's not a monthly or a yearly thing you need to check. It's something that you should check, once a week, minimum.
30 seconds and I can click remove. Even if I have 20, it's going to take me 20 seconds, a second per click, right?
Sure, I'm not saying make it into a good book.
No, but my point to reiterating your point is, what does it take me? 20, 30 seconds? But I've eliminated the potential of fraud or one piece of the potential of fraud, I'll take it.
Sure, without a doubt.
All day long.
you've given a lot of it there. A lot of what's going on. I mean, so you talked about privacy director, Milona. You have money manager. Was that what it was called?
That's
as well?
Yep.
So able to go into, if they join up with Smart Credit, they're able to go up, keep up what's going on, be able to look at loans, be able to know what's going on with their own identity.
One I think we left out, which I think is big. We also actually show you what your hiring index looks like.
I talk to people about this in classes about the fact that your credit affects your ability to get hired.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Certain jobs, high level jobs, certainly it just depends, right, on what you're working in. It will require, you to not have, $120,000 worth of debt or, be in a negative light or whatever the case is. And we just provide it as one of our, forecasting tools that's there. I mean, it's a snapshot, right? It's right there and there on the front. When you look at the first option you can choose. And it'll show you, your credit report. It'll show you home, auto, insurance, and your hiring index.
So we've talked about everything, several of your services. We talked a little bit about how you can help make sure people understand what's coming up by the education there. You give them alerts. Now here's a question a lot of people are going to ask. Why should they trust you with their information?
I just ask them why not. What reason have I given or have we given them not to trust us? Number one. Number two, we're one of the largest platforms that's out there, and that may mean nothing to some, but in a very difficult space to navigate, we navigate it pretty well. And I think for me, reasons why I've left other companies and the reasons why I do truly enjoy working with them is because they care about their people.
Right.
If they really care about their partners and their employees, then they're going to care about the customers, the consumers at the end, right?
Right.
So, when I walk into work every day and I can see them and I'm getting love from them, and I'm coming out and I get to go meet partners and I get to have those conversations with partners. And do partners have problems? Yeah. Do they call us up? Hey, how do we fix this? Or, I'm not sure about this. I mean, how many times do I have to go back to them more than once? It's not often.
Right.
It's answering the question, and then we get a plan to move forward, right? The reason why I could tell you this is I have people who will bring on, I will work with somebody who has 3 enrollments or 3 customers, and I'll work with someone who has 35,000.
Now, as far as the end user, when you're talking about what their experience is like, what kind of security, what kind of, when they start an account with you, how do y'all protect y'all's data?
We're SOC 2.
Okay, what's that mean?
SOC 2 is like the hardest and the most secure protection of the data and stored information that you have.
Right.
We are audited multiple times a year. Now, like when I say audited, I'm talking like if I send a referral partner agreement, that has to be documented.
Okay.
Like everything is documented. And if anything doesn't match when they do the audit, we're subject to being in trouble.
So somebody is watching you at all times.
Oh, I mean, we just got done doing an audit. And there was one that happened, I think, before the show, right? That we did, right? So, I mean, I think I was saying that, like, so when I'm telling you, like, security is prime. Security is prime.
Awesome. So if you had any one real story that you wanted to tell anybody, like the average person that's out there who is looking to go and they're going, man, I'm thinking about doing fixing my credit. I'm thinking about working with my credit. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what my credit scores are. What's a story that you have of somebody who has started from that spot? Do you know any? Do y'all have those?
Yeah, I just tell you to call MSI. Number one.
I do have those, by the way. You can call me and ask that.
You call Jessie. It's a scary place to be. But what I will say is you have to get over that initial fear, take a look at it, and you have to work on the acceptance part of it. Because without working on the acceptance, I don't care who you are. If your credit's messed up, you have to accept it and take the steps to fix it.
Right.
If your credit's not messed up, you need to accept it and take the steps to protect it. Right? That's a big difference. Remember, a couple of different plans that we offer is a build and a protect. So back to what you were saying earlier, just to put a bow on that, is we actually offer different plans based on the need of what is there. So even if you do join an MSI and, for 4 or 6 months, you're at X price. There is an option for you to drop that down when it's done based on the recommendation of your team.
Right.
If they're in a comfortable space where they still have the monitoring, you're still able to service them properly and do the things that need to be done, and they still have the protection. But during that process, I encourage people to ask questions because for every single person, it's different.
Oh, credit is different. I mean, you can have a married couple that have almost all the same items, and there's 1 or 2 items. I had, to give you all an exact point, I had a loan officer for high-end loans, right? We're talking about, he sent me a couple's credit reports. Sent me a couple. I pulled the credit reports through y'all and sat down in the loan officer said, I don't understand why he's a 745 and she's a 715.
Are we talking Vantage or FICO?
At this point in time, we were looking at Vantage, but it was higher with us on a Vantage. By the way, just so you know on that, if you're listening in, FICOs and Vantage, there's 2 different types of scoring models. FICOs you're going to see most often when you're dealing with mortgages, auto loans, those type of things. Vantage score, I like to call it a consumer credit report. You'll actually see it in a lot of your more mundane things like utilities, maybe certain like cell phones, that type of thing. So he had the score in FICOs, which means the Vantage score they had was a little higher, right? But they weren't understanding why it was so different. And I broke down their credit report, and it turned out to be one simple situation. She had an average age of credit that was 5 years, and his was 15. And we took a little bit of time. I was like, okay, you need to add her to that, and you need to add him to this and this. And I don't know. They did what's called a rapid rescore on the loan officers. Loan officers are able you're able to make adjustments 7 to 10 days later. They can pull your credit again through a rapid rescore. Roughly what they do.
Now, there's something on that though that people don't know, and just
please educate me.
When you, as we were talking a little bit earlier about soft pull and hard inquiry, right? Soft inquiry, hard inquiry. You have a certain limit, right? So if you're purchasing a home, a large purchase, you're allowed, without damaging your credit, to go shop around.
Sure.
So you purchase,
as long as it says mortgage.
Correct. And then it will consolidate it, to one inquiry. And so you could go and apply for 5 cars. Problem is, you don't buy one of those 5, you got a problem. Right? You got a home, like you have to you have to be serious. You can't just be like a chronic check my credit person, right? Like you're never going to have credit, okay? But if you do that, just for people to understand, you don't have to have this crazy fear about it, but I don't like this car. Then go check the other one. But make a decision.
You know what I tell people to do a lot of times is to go to credit unions or go to their bank or go to some place like that. Go to one place, get one pull, find out what they'll offer you, then go look at the cars.
No, you're right. Sometimes, but what happens is sometimes while they're there, they get stuck in a moment, right?
Sure.
And so for the people that happens, that once again, that's why I say call you.
Right.
If somebody's looking and you have this relationship with a company, then use it, right? But if you're pressed, man, and something really happened and you went and looked at a car and they ran your credit, oh man, right? Easy.
Yeah, don't freak out.
Don't freak out. You've got a window of time. Go look for the cars. Make your decision. Feel good about it. Move on.
Do it in that window, though.
Yeah, you have to do it in the window.
Don't wait a year later and try it
You
again.
can't. No, because you'll get pinged, and then you're gonna say, well, and then what's gonna happen is you're just not gonna be able to apply for loans or other stuff. They're just gonna immediately deny you because there's just too much activity that's happening on your account.
So a lot of people probably don't understand why inquiries make a big difference, right? I will give you one statistic I know that hardline I know, right? If you have more than 8 inquiries in a 6-month period, statistics say you are 50% more likely to go bankrupt in the next 6 months than somebody who doesn't.
That's a good number.
Those are the type of things that they can pull from your credit report and be able to put it into a manageable tool and be able to go, we don't want to get that person on board right now because of A, B, C.
Here's the thing. If you don't know about your credit report, then most likely you really don't know about government programs or things that are out there to help you.
Sure.
Because you don't know where you sit. So that's how important to me that, credit is, especially when you're having these conversations, right? If you don't know where you are, where you stand, how could you make a decision of where you want to go?
And that's empowerment.
Yes.
That's exactly what we're talking about with this. If you don't know where you are right now, you don't have... An old man that I knew when I was a kid told me one time, says, how are you going to get anywhere if you don't know where you are? Where do you start? You can't get somewhere without knowing where you're going. You can't get there if you even know where you want to go. You can't get there if you don't know where you start at. If you don't know where your feet are, where are you going to go? And that's the first step, is pulling your credit and figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, I think the other one is part of a conversation that we had one other time, was you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So if you don't know about credit, inquire. Reach out, to MSI. Reach out to us. I'll direct you back to MSI. You know what I mean? Like, in all seriousness, but that's really true. Like, if you don't know what you don't know, stop beating yourself up over it. Just try to learn it. Ask questions. That's how you start to figure these things out, right? Because I don't expect some person who's never done it before just to pull up a credit report and go, oh my God, I got this figured out. Like, your eyes are going to cross probably, in it, like, trying to understand it. So, to those points, yeah, I think you're 100% correct. And I mean, just stop being afraid, get it checked out. And I think the other part too is, once you do, spread the knowledge.
Sure.
Help everybody else out in here, because, the other aspects is the more people that properly portray the message, the better we are going to be in the future. The easier your job will be, or the job will be for those people trying to fix it, because they won't go down such a rabbit hole. They won't pin themselves in that proverbial corner, right? And so, like, that's the issue. People a lot of times just don't know, and then they just go. And it's the avalanche that happens, right? Or they get so afraid they just say, screw it. What do I care? I'm going to declare bankruptcy anyway, right? Like,
I'm going to be talking about that with Ricardo very soon, by the way. And y'all want to be in on that one, because let me tell you, truthfully, bankruptcy, people think bankruptcy is, that big red button, I push it and everything starts over. No, it's more like going to the Inquisition. And I will really get into how, and that's not a joke.
No, I know.
You actually have to sit in a room full of people you owe money under oath.
Yep.
And answer the questions depending on if you're in one type of the bankruptcies.
Yep.
And there's more than one. Most people don't even know that. So we're going to get into that.
You know why, right? They just hear a headline about bankruptcy of a company and think that applies to their person. And what I try and tell people is, you have to understand, what boundaries and what laws and what guidelines you have to protect the person are very different than what protects a business.
And of course, know the aftermath of what happens to you.
Bankruptcy is not a good thing, man. I've known people that have gone into bankruptcy, and it's taken them years, to get things back. Think about it. Just think about I don't even care how bad your credit is if you're able to have credit, right?
Right.
Imagine not. Imagine some unforeseen circumstance that you can't fix because you have no ability, regardless of what that payment would be. That's a terrible place to be in.
We can't give away the whole next show, by the way.
I mean,
I'm playing with you. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You know, curiosity, man. If you had to leave them one major thought about Smart Credit as a company, what would you tell people? If you had 30 seconds to be able to say, hey, this is why you want to be with me, what is it?
You will not find the level of care. Our partners won't find the level of care with anybody else that they work with. I would bet just about anything on that. Second of all, is you're not going to find the type of technology. We have a bunch of patents as well. I mean, that's huge. The third part that I would say in there is the customer service when somebody calls in. There's not one company that touches us that's in this space. Not one. And when I can walk through the office.
That's a bold statement, you know that, right?
When I walk through the office and I can trust the other individuals that have my back, you know, on accounts or whatever else, and can carry that conversation that I've started, you made my life easy. You know, and if you're making my life easy, I know the customer's life is made easy on that.
That's true. Thank you for watching MSI Wealth Chronicles, building legacies one episode at a time. Appreciate you tuning in. Please leave your comments down below. Ask us questions. We want to be able to answer you. I want to say thank you, Anthony, for being on today, because really knowing where you are is the start of becoming empowered enough to be able to gain those abilities. And thank you very much for the product that you put out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, check us out and go to Smart Credit, see what their service is like. Matter of fact, we'll put a link down below.
Thank you.